launched. You can forget about that. I don't think that ball's come down yet. Made a good lane for Spooner with the backhander. That's nasty. Smack to center, long run. Rottenberg, oh, she caught it. Stop. That surely must be illegal. Welcome back for episode 12 of White Noise Sports with Tanner White. Off the bat, I have to state that we're still working through technical difficulties with the YouTube video debut of the show. I do hate to disappoint you all, but as soon as we're done, it'll come out. What you hear on this episode will be real similar to what you hear on the video, with a couple of things magically edited in by me from the future. Although if you think about it, it won't be the future anymore from the reference point of when we recorded the video. You could call it the present, except that by the time this video goes up, it'll be in the past. So, are you with me? Good. If I recall correctly, I'm supposed to do the sports talk thing now. Shall we get started on episode 12? Today's topics are going to get a little bit more of the ESPN whip-around treatment. Last week, I dove almost too deep into Angel Hernandez's retirement. I think that's the reason I enjoy making this show so much, that freedom to cover whatever I feel like without assignments and however I choose to. We're going to start with one of the most bittersweet sports stories I've come across in years. Having been around a ton of Division III college baseball, I want to extend my condolences to the Birmingham Southern Panthers. If you're not certain who they are, you might have heard of the Division III baseball team playing for the school that no longer exists. Birmingham Southern College is, or now was, a small liberal arts college near downtown Birmingham, Alabama, an enrollment of less than 1,000, and oof, I'm already getting chills. This is something I can really relate to in so many ways. Not the school closing part, but the tiny and the really historic school in a really historic city part, absolutely. It all sounds a lot like my college experience. So, the school just permanently closed as the baseball team was unceremoniously bounced from the College World Series by Wisconsin Whitewater in the national quarterfinals. It's a shame any way you cut it, but the way that they lost that quarterfinal game is straight out of a movie. Birmingham Southern had led 10-5 as late as the bottom of the 7th inning. They ran into some bullpen issues, and they'd given up the lead by the time they reached the end of the 8th. Then their offense went 1-2-3 in the top of the 9th. Now, I don't claim to be overly superstitious about sports, not nearly as much as some of the athletes I've played with and covered. Still, I can't ignore the power of momentum. Wisconsin Whitewater put an end to their magical run and their entire school's history, sad as that is to say, with a walk-off bomb from Sam Payton on the very first pitch of the bottom of the 9th. Don't tell me there's a more fickle game on this planet than baseball. The play-by-play guy on the live stream for that game made me tear up a little bit. He called Birmingham Southern the team that doesn't have a school to go home to. I gotta say, I believe that the best commentators are brutally honest, and the guy really hit it on the head there. It was just hard to listen to a little bit. The Panthers had lost a first-round game before that, but the College World Series plays double elimination just to make sure that the outcomes are even a little bit more volatile. So, if you have a heart, you'll hopefully feel something for Birmingham Southern baseball too. College sports, and D3 in particular, are the most pure, unadulterated version of the game. There's a lot of talent, excitement, emotion, and absolutely no money in it. That's really what every D3 kid knows that they're signing up for. You have to love your sport unconditionally. I have to imagine that their tiny enrollment and their financial struggles fed into each other. The good news is they made the most of their run and wrote their chapter in sports history. Next topic on the docket today. A couple weeks ago, I told you about a trio of record-setting NFL contracts for Travis Kelce, Christian Barmore, and Antoine Winfield Jr. It took almost no time at all to see another record broken. This time, it was the record for highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Like you typically see with these deals, it was never a question of if this deal was going to get done. All that mattered was how much. Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson is now set to make $140 million over the next 4 years. Call it an early birthday present for him, if you will. He turns 25 years old on June 16th. The signing bonus on this extension alone could take care of his grandchildren's grandchildren. That was about $37 million. And $110 million of the deal is fully guaranteed. The top-tier receivers have been crushing it this entire offseason. Here's other big names that have gone around that $30 million a year threshold. Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Jalen Waddle, Nico Collins, Devontae Smith, those kind of guys. 49ers defensive end Nick Bosa had the title of the highest-paid non-quarterback for about 9 months last year, with an average annual value of $34 million.
I often credit the agents for negotiating these record deals, but not anymore with the last few. It's been mostly just about talent and production. You think about Travis Kelce, Justin Jefferson, the Aaron Donald extension from a couple of years ago. There's just so much of a gap between them and, say, the second or third best guys at that position. The one issue I thought might affect Justin Jefferson's value was that hamstring injury he had last year. I know it's tired, it's cliche, it's overused, but I cannot argue with it. The best ability is availability. And yet, because this is Justin Jefferson we're talking about, he missed 7 games and he still went over 1,000 yards. He was really candid during the entire recovery process, telling everybody who would listen he was not going to get back on the field until he was 100% healthy. He was true to his word, too. He was out weeks 6 through 13 this past year, although they had their bye week sprinkled in there. Then in the last 3 weeks of the season, all he did was make a combined 23 catches for 392 yards and 2 touchdowns. Turns out he probably made the right decision. It's tough to assign value based on those sort of rate stats or on pace for stats, but the eye test is just as good when it comes to Justin Jefferson. The best part about the Vikings getting this deal done right now is they don't have any holdout shenanigans to deal with. If you'll recall, Nick Bosa had to sit out the entire offseason last year for the Niners to get his money. The Cowboys' number 1 receiver, CeeDee Lamb, didn't show up for their mandatory minicamp this week. You gotta feel like the Justin Jefferson extension probably has his blood boiling. Bosa only signed his deal a couple of days before the season opener last year, and he still went over 10 sacks. But you have to have contingency plans if you're missing a star like one of these guys. Now, bringing the focus back to Jefferson and Minnesota. The Vikings were the 29th ranked rushing offense last year and definitely aren't going to get any better. It's a situation meant for him to keep dominating. Do I think they're going to be better than 500, whether they start J.J. McCarthy or Sam Darnold? No, probably not. However, Justin Jefferson is one of those receivers that could build a good MVP case even on a not-so-great team. He's off to the hottest career start of anyone ever to play wide receiver. Better than Randy Moss. Better than Calvin Johnson, Jerry Rice, you name it. I haven't burst into flames yet as far as I can tell, so it seems that wasn't too heretical. It is unreal money to pay a receiver, but if there's ever been a deserving candidate, it's 18 in purple, Justin Jefferson. Finally, we have to get to the NBA Finals predictions. I almost wish they'd push up the start date a little bit if both conference finals end early like they did this year. You could have some margin of error on the end date if you started the finals a little bit earlier. Imagine some craziness like a power outage or a team travel issue, a natural disaster. But I digress. I've put everything I know into making predictions throughout the play-in tournament all the way till now, and I've truly whiffed on a majority of them. I'll be the first one to admit it. It's not that I'm not trying or intentionally picking anything crazy to happen. It's just been such a, shall we say, wonderfully chaotic postseason from start to finish. A couple of things we do know. Either the league's best team or the best player in the playoff field are going to get a ring. The storylines are going to be great no matter who wins. Let's hop into predictions for the Celtics, seeing as they're the favorites. I still love the thought of somebody getting a 40-point triple-double in the finals. It's rare enough at any time, but in the playoffs, period, there's only been 9 of them all time. Oh yeah, and LeBron has 3 of them. That's just absurd. Luka is the more likely pick, I have to admit, just based on the numbers, but I really think Jason Tatum is good enough to do it. I'm calling my shot one more time for this year. Tatum's going to have an all-time great playoff game and put down a 40-point triple-double in a win at some point during the series. It would mean Jaylen Brown taking a bit of a backseat offensively, but the best teammates are willing to do that if it gives you a better chance to win, especially late in the year. Whenever Boston's center, Kristaps Porzingis, comes back from that calf injury, I'm going to say that he leads the finals in blocked shots as well. This is not really a hot take at all, seeing as he's 7'2", the tallest guy out there, but it more so means that he's fully healthy and can be aggressive on defense. There's lots of speculation right now on when Porzingis is going to be back, how many minutes he'll get, if they might even intentionally start a smaller lineup and bring Porzingis off the bench. Still, I think his rim protection could be one of the biggest X factors in the entire series. My last Celtics prediction is that they shoot 50% or better from three-point range at least once in the series. They're at 37.2% so far in the playoffs, which would have actually ranked them 12th in the regular season. Still, if they get a good shooting night from some of the other guys like PJ Washington and Derrick Jones, and they don't take a crazy number of threes, this could happen easily enough. Let's say something like 13 of 25 in Game 3. I'll just call my shot there. Over 50% for a game is an impressive mark for any team to hit, but it's always going to be attainable in today's three-point shooting environment. For Dallas, I have to call them like I see them. It's the Kyrie and Luka show until we see something to the contrary. I think those two will save the best for last this year. They combined for 59.4 points a game in the Western Conference Finals, so I'm going to bump that up a little bit, and hear me out, all the way to 65 points a game as a duo. That is a ton of points, but these guys are fully capable. There shouldn't be a lot of opportunities right at the rim, considering Boston's size and their length, so I imagine Kyrie and Luka probably have to live in the mid-range. It's a super, super lofty goal, but they each take a ton of shots, they have insane talent, and they have that will to do whatever it takes. You don't make it to the finals as a 5 seed without this kind of star power. It's exactly what the Orlando Magic, the 5 seed in the East, were missing when they lost to the Cavs. Here's a quirky one that I think would be a fun prop bet if the series goes to 6 or 7 games. The Mavs outscore the Celtics overall and still lose the series. I think most every game is going to go down to the wire, but this would mean the Mavs winning at least one, probably in a blowout, and it could happen. The final prediction I can muster up for Dallas is they pick up an ejection. Luka has 4 in his career in the regular season, and we know how he racks up the technical fouls. That's well documented. The Mavs head coach Jason Kidd had 2 in his playing career, and to my knowledge has added 3 so far in his coaching career. Kyrie Irving only has 1 career ejection. Still, I wouldn't be shocked at all if there's some little skirmish or a flagrant 2 and somebody gets tossed. Hopefully you've seen that ESPN bet commercial with Scott Van Pelt. He's in the tailor shop and he just keeps telling the guy next to him, it's the playoffs. That means expect the unexpected. Lastly, for the finals result, I've been so clear about this ever since I first set the play-in tournament field. You can beat this year's Celtics for stretches of a few minutes at a time. You can exploit some matchups and make them take bad shots, but I don't think any team can go toe-to-toe with them and beat them 4 games in a best-of-7 series. I'm calling Celtics in 6. If that happens, the finals MVP will probably be Jason Tatum. As boring as that is, but I have to make at least one prediction per episode or so that's based on probability and not just what I want to see. So that's all we have for this episode of White Noise Sports. This version will still release on time, Friday afternoon. I plan to continue releasing episodes weekly as long as I enjoy it. My video guy and I will talk shop for a while after the video's up. With any luck, we'll be able to knock out something like a bi-weekly schedule on YouTube. It's tough to say. This is the real world, and we have real-life obligations, believe it or not. We get to do this content creation thing for fun and for practice, which is awesome. Just like all the other details that we've yet to iron out, I'll keep my preliminary ideas for next week's topic in my head. You'll just have to tune in and find out what's in store. This has been episode 12 of White Noise Sports with Tanner White. Thanks so much for joining me.
And that ball is launched. You can forget about that. I don't think that ball's come down yet. Made a good lane for Spooner with the backhander. That's nasty. Smack to center, long run. Rottenberg, oh, she caught it. Stop. That surely must be illegal.